part 4 of storytelling and career transitions, career change, and we're going to spend this time talking about being memorable, making sure you're memorable. Everybody's unique and everybody has something to offer. The question is, how do you pull all of that specialness about yourself out and show it to potential employers, right? I think it's really important. We'll talk in the final session about values, but this is going to come into play again, similar to how it came into play in our discussion about resumes. But ultimately, you're looking to craft a compelling narrative about yourself that is personal, that is concise, and that really gets across your key experiences and the impact that you've had, and that is hopefully tuned into the audience of the person you're talking to, right? So the company, recruiter, networking event that you're talking to. You have to keep in mind, like, networking events and interviews, these kind of touch point interviews versus like long form interviews and business cases, they have different speeds and different paces, but ultimately you need to be able to craft a story. One of the very first questions that most interviewers ask you is, tell me a little bit about yourself, or why don't you walk me through your background? To do that, or even like, tell me where you are right now and why you're looking. Awesome. Take full advantage of that as an opportunity to make yourself memorable through a really good story, right? So you want this pitch, this kind of concise pitch, to be very, very compelling. You want to use specific and vivid examples, and you really want to paint a picture with words of your background and of why your background will be a really good fit for them if you think it is. And that's really where it ties to values. You need to have done enough research about, especially if you're in interviews, about the company to understand, like, where do their values and what they believe in match yours, and where do you see that connection, and how can you talk about that? You really want to be able to talk about challenges you faced and the results you've gotten in a great way. So let me quickly tell you a version of mine. I haven't really thought this through, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. But so I started my product career 20 plus years ago. I launched my very first product in March of 2003. And then I went on to that's really what I've spent my time doing. During my career, I've spent probably 15, 16 years of that in fintech and payments and building platforms and really technical product management. But the last several years have been more about building and growing teams and really implementing mature practices of product into companies so that they can be very laser focused on their customer and solving real customer problems with a really talented, healthy team. One of the best things I ever got to do was also one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced. At the beginning of 2020, I joined a bespoke travel startup in Berlin that spectacular product, really love what they do, and was really excited to join. And as you can imagine, joining a company in the travel industry at the beginning of 2020 sounded great in January and February and was really, really hard by March because of the pandemic. But despite the challenges we faced, it's been one of the best experiences of my career because I really got to dig in, look at the strategy, make sure we were thinking about ways to enhance the customer experience, and also really build and rebuild a team with really wonderful people. I love to travel, and so for me, it was so important to think about, how do we open the world up so that more people travel and see these beautiful places without over touristing certain spots, but really giving people an experience, a really important experience that is really key to their growth as a person, but also their enjoyment of a holiday. So that's how I would, if someone said, tell me about your recent experience and what you've done most recently. Tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me what you've done most recently. That's what I would tell them. It's exactly what I would tell them. And again, I didn't really think that through. So there's probably places where I would get tighter and places where I would expand. But ultimately, I want to tell the story of, I have this long product career. I've done lots of technical product management. I build teams. And my most recent kind of exciting thing I got to do was this, right? And that's the story I want to tell. Because it's so key and critical to who I am today. These last 3-4 years have really helped me grow and build my career, and so I want to share that, right? So that's how I would describe kind of myself right now if somebody asked that question. The thing is, and so what I just did, I wouldn't recommend you just roll in without having thought it through. I think it's really, really important to practice. Practice with people, practice yourself, video yourself, and then watch it, and then do it again, and practice this. Like, you're literally getting my first shot, right, at doing it. So, like I said, I'd get tighter. If I listened to it right now, I'd probably be like, oh, I'd scratch that, I'd do this, right? You want to practice your pace. You want to practice your tone. You want to practice how you deliver the words you're actually using, so delivery, and you want to practice the actual content. Like, where would I maybe change the message a bit? Where would I dig a little deeper? You ultimately want to be super concise, super tight, which is why I said even what I just shared, not tight enough. But you want to tell a story so good that it leaves the interviewer or the networking person or the recruiter just a little bit of like, I want to dive in. You said this, I want to dive in there. And you ought to have 2 or 3 of those points in your very, very short little window that they can say, oh, you did technical product management? Tell me about that. Oh, you built platforms? Tell me more about that. Oh, you've done fintech? Tell me more about that. Oh, you've built teams? Tell me more about that. You want to give them a handful of little touch points that they can grab onto to dive in where they're interested. So make yourself memorable, because listen, you are special and spectacular, and you have something to offer. So how do you tell that story to make yourself stand out for these companies that you're really interested in? So hone in. If you need help learning how to tell that story, ping me at leahfarmercoaching.com, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and walk through how to tell your story. All right. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.